name is Kevin Fernandez and welcome to my channel, Gamers Genie. Today we're going to learn how to play the time-traveling board game Back to the Future, Back in Time. This 2 to 4 player game designed by Prospero Hall and published by Funko Games. Marty McFly has been transported back to 1955 from the then 1985. And it's up to you to help him to get back to the future. Huh? See what I did there? What you need to do is you need to assemble, but it's not going to be easy. You need to assemble and place the DeLorean in its starting space, as well as make sure that Marty's parents fall in love at the Under the Sea dance. Will you be successful, or will Biff have his way? Find out as we go to the table and learn how to play Back to the Future, Back in Time. Place the game board in the center of the table. Each player chooses a character. Marty McFly, Doc Brown, Jennifer Parker, or Einstein. Bark, bark. So for this game, will be Marty and the Doc. So then we take our corresponding characters. There's Marty. And 5 starter tiles. You place your starter tiles on these white spaces on your player mat in any order, with the die symbols showing on the white spaces on your mat. Place your character mover at the town square on the game board. Power tiles allow you to take actions. Players begin with 5 starter power tags, but better power tiles may be acquired that allows you to move extra spaces, roll more dice, or modify your die rolls. Mix up the power tiles and place them near the game board. Place the George mover at his house. Place Lorraine's mover at her house, and take the Biff mover and place him on the clock tower. George, Lorraine, and Biff are characters that are always in the game. Their movement is controlled by the movement cards, although other players can influence their movement aside from these movement cards. Place the DeLorean on the DeLorean start space of the DeLorean track. Place the DeLorean parts face up with the knowledge symbol right there, face up at their locations. The cable will be at Hill Valley High School. The hook is at the clock tower, and the gasoline is at the South Shop. Place the love meter next to the game board and place the love meter cube on the start space where it's marked start. Place the McFly character tiles on the black and white photo. Showing on the love meter. The McFly photo represents the constant threat to Marty's existence. If the last section of the photo is ever turned over, the game ends immediately and the players will lose the game. Place the turn tracker and the turn cube near the game board. Make sure that the turn tracker is turned to the side that shows the correct number of players. We are playing a 2-player game, so we have it on the 2 to 4 player side. This is the 3-player side for anybody who's wants to know. 2-player game, so it'll be placed The cube will be placed on, since we're playing a two-player game, we're going to place it on this two-player spot. And this will be off camera for the remainder of this video. But I will show you through examples and everything of what that's going to look like moving forward. Each turn, the active player will advance the turn tracker cube one space to the right. The final space represents 10:04 p.m. And when the turn tracker cube moves onto it, the lightning strikes the clock tower and the game ends. Shuffle the movement cards. We're going to do that a little bit. Just a little bit. And then place them face down in a draw pile by the game board. Movement cards move George, Lorraine, and Biff around Hill Valley. We place the item cards in a stack. They do not need to be shuffled. Item cards give players extra abilities. We're just going to place that by the board. They may be obtained by resolving opportunity cards. Then shuffle the opportunity cards. And I will activate my Genie magic now. And then you place it face down near the game board. Then shuffle each trouble card by their levels and separately place them near the game board in 3 face down draw piles. Trouble cards have negative effects that hinder players but also award power tiles when they are resolved. Place 8 dice and 3 knockdown tokens next to the game board. Starting to run out of room here. Dice are used to resolve challenges. There are 8 dice, 2 of 4 different colors. Each color is weighted toward one of the 4 symbols: speed, knowledge, courage, and love. So pink is love, yellow is speed, blue is courage, and green is knowledge. Assemble the clock tower and place it at the clock tower location. When rolling dice, you may drop them through the dice tower. And that completes the setup. Choose a player to take the first turn. After they have taken their turn, play continues clockwise order with players taking turns until the turn tracker cube is on the final 10:04 p.m. space on the turn tracker. So all the way down here. Each player except the first player begins their turn by moving the turn tracker cube 1 space down the turn tracker. The first player of the game will start on either the 2-player, 3-player, or 4-player space, depending on the number of players in the game. Look at the column of icons along the turn tracker. Each column is different. Resolve icons in the column from top to bottom, according to the directions that follow. So, it would be move it down. We'd have to do a movement card for George, Lorraine, and Biff. And then we move down a little more further. We do another movement card. Move it down a little more further. We get a level 2 trouble card and more movement. If one of the trouble icons is in the turn tracker column on your turn, reveal the top trouble card of the corresponding draw pile, level 1, 2, or 3, and place it face up at the location specified on the card. So this one's going to go to Hill Valley High. Any effect listed on the card is immediately activated, and the effect, players may not attempt a Biff fight challenge. If there was a previously placed trouble card on the board that is unresolved, remove it. There will never be more than 1 trouble card on the board. A little note, I'll explain more about trouble cards in better detail in the challenge type section of this video. If the new movement icon is shown on the turn tracker. So it'd be a silhouette of like this card. Reveal the top movement card and move George, Lorraine, or Biff accordingly in order shown on the card. So I drew a Biff card, which means that Biff moves 2. So it would be, and then you just put it in the discard pile. If the icon features a 2 times symbol, draw a movement card and move the characters, then draw. So we draw a card, we move George 2 spaces, and we move Biff 2 spaces, and then we would draw a second card and move the characters again. George and Lorraine will move either clockwise or counterclockwise in certain number of spaces, or they will move directly to a specified location. Follow the instructions and move the characters accordingly. Biff moves differently than George and Lorraine. Each movement card that moves Biff features a number of Biff symbols. For each symbol, move Biff 1 space towards George or Lorraine, whoever is nearest. If George and Lorraine are an equal number of spaces away from Biff, then Biff moves towards Lorraine. Once Biff is at the same location as either George or Lorraine, or both, then each additional Biff symbol lowers the love meter by 1. Move the love meter cube down the appropriate number of spaces. Biff symbols will have this effect whether they appear on movement cards or rolled on dice. If the check love meter symbol is shown, which looks like that, check the love meter and flip over a McFly photo sections if necessary. If the love meter cube is on a space numbered 0 to 12, George and Lorraine are not in love. You must flip over any one section of the McFly photo face down, as Marty and his siblings are fading from their timeline. If it is in the double photo zone, a space with a negative number, they are far from falling in love, and you must flip over 2 sections. Since we do have it in a negative number, we have to flip over 2 sections of the photo. If the icon features a ×2 symbol, you must perform this check twice, meaning you must flip twice the number of photo sections required. So if we were in the ×2 section, instead of 2, we'd have to flip over 4 because we're in the negative zone. If it is in the heart zone, any of the 3 spaces with a heart, there is no need to flip a section of the photo because George and Lorraine are in love, but be careful, Biff will still try to interfere to make them fall back out of love again. During the action phase, you will use power tiles to move around Hill Valley and roll dice to attempt challenges. Using a power tile to use its action, you must flip it face down. So I'm going to bring my character over here. I'll flip 1 face down, move over here, use the die. I didn't roll it, but let's say for example I did, then I complete this trouble card. And I'll talk more in detail about that later in the video. So I flipped it down to indicate that it is exhausted, and it may not be used again on this turn. If you occupy a space that contains multiple possible actions you may attempt to reattempt as many of them as possible as your power tiles allow. You may perform the following actions in any order. So first, you can move your character. Power tiles may be used to move your character up to 3 spaces. While moving, you may also escort either George or Lorraine, which is key to setting up a desirable situation but avoiding Biff. The next thing you can do is you can attempt challenges. Some power tiles may be used to roll dice to attempt challenges. So as I showed with this trouble card, But you can also do it to try to get these parts. So we roll the tech. Again, let's say we succeeded. Then you flip this in the colored side. And I'll explain what to do. If you roll more dice, it increases your chances of success. You can also modify die rolls. When attempting challenges, you may use certain power tiles after the dice have been rolled in order to modify the results or even re-roll them. You can also use item cards in addition to power tiles. Players can acquire item cards by resolving certain opportunity challenges. So I actually got a power tile because I finished that trouble card, but I didn't get an item card. But this is an item card right here. Movement and other elements. Each of the 4 characters will have unique special powers that can help you to win the game. But I'll explain how that works in our gameplay video on this game. You may use a power tile to move your character around Hill Valley. To do so, you just flip it over face down to show that it's been used. Move your character any number of adjacent spaces up to 3, because that's what the tile says. Diagonal spaces are not considered adjacent. You may visit the same space multiple times during the same movement. Once a power tile has been moved over, it's exhausted, and its other abilities, die rolling or modifying, cannot be used until your next turn. So flip it over, and we move 3. So it's 1, 2, 3. While moving your character, if you stop at a location in order to take an action of any kind for your movement for that tile ends. You may not take any leftover moves afterward. You may, however, take another move action by using another available tile. So let's say I use this power tile right here to move 6. I can't go 1, 2, 3, stop, do a little action, 3, 4, stop, help George and Lorraine, and then 5, 6. Nope, doesn't work like that. I have to do this action, flip another tile over, and start all over again. As you move, you may escort George or Lorraine, but not both at the same time, by moving them with you. You may pick them up and drop them off at any location. At any point during your movement. Not any location though, just as long as it's adjacent, of course. But of course you can't move them both at the same time. Escorting is the key to getting George and Lorraine together to perform an influence love challenge to raise your love meter and to keep them away from Biff. A little note, you may not escort George or Lorraine into or through Town Square. There are 6 types of challenges, and the way you roll dice to resolve them is the same. So we're going to take a look at one because it will cover all of them. In the love challenge, attempt an influence love challenge to raise the love meter so George and Lorraine will fall in love. In order to do so, you must be at the same location as they are, and you have to flip over this tile. It will give you this die. There we go. In the love challenge, attempt to influence the love meter so George and Lorraine will fall in love. In order to do so, you must be at the same location as George and Lorraine. For each heart or wild symbol you roll, move the love meter cube 1 space. So we got 2 hearts, so we go 1, 2. If there are multiple challenge options at your location, you must declare which one you are attempting before you roll the dice. Each die contains the following faces. Specific symbols such as courage, love, speed, and tech, or knowledge. And then they will always have all of them have a wild or Biff die face. Decide how many dice of each color to use before you roll. You may use as many dice as you have on your face-up power tiles. Whichever dice you select are the only dice you may use for that attempt. As you collect dice to roll, flip over the corresponding power tiles to show that they are exhausted. Once you have selected the dice and exhausted the corresponding power tiles, make your attempt. Roll all the dice at the same time. Then proceed through these steps. So first of all, you lock Biffs. You set aside any dice that show the Biff symbol. These dice are locked. And the Biff symbol looks like this, in case anybody has forgotten. And they may not be re-rolled. Each Biff symbol will cause Biff to take an action after you're finished rolling. Then you re-roll. This is optional. You may re-roll any unlocked dice if you wish to try to improve your results. As with your first roll, all re-rolled dice that show a Biff symbol must be locked and may not be re-rolled again. You may choose to re-roll as many dice as you wish that do not show a Biff symbol until you choose to quit or have no more dice to roll. You can also modify die rolls if you have any power tiles or item cards that allow you to modify die rolls. You may use them now. Each power tile or item card that you use to modify your roll may be used only once per turn. They are flipped over and exhausted when you use them. You can also, for the fourth step, you can also resolve advantageous dice. When you are done rolling, apply the results. Always address the non-Biff symbols first. If you succeed in a challenge, resolve it and receive any rewards or take any applicable actions. And finally, Biff's behavior. Now you must resolve all of the Biff symbols that you rolled. Each Biff symbol you rolled has the same effect as a Biff symbol on a movement card. For each Biff symbol, move Biff one space towards George or Lorraine, whoever is nearest. But if there is a tie between George or Lorraine, always move him towards Lorraine more. Once Biff is at the same location as George or Lorraine, or both, then each Biff symbol remaining, of course, lowers the love meter by 1. Move the love meter cube down the appropriate number of spaces. However, if Biff is knocked down, Biff symbols, so if you have one of these on Biff, instead of him bringing down the love meter or moving towards George and Lorraine, you just simply will, so he gets knocked down, you place one there. And for every time, you can put up to 3. And whenever you roll a Biff symbol, you just simply remove his knocked out tiles, knocked down token, if any are present. Once all knockdown tokens have been removed, the next Biff symbol stands Biff up again. He resumes his normal behavior for any Biff symbols after that. After all, he never learns his lesson. Successfully resolving certain opportunity cards will reward you with an item card. These will add to your powers and abilities. When you first obtain an item card, place it face down to indicate that it has been exhausted. All of them have a gray side, so that's how you know it's been exhausted. And it cannot be used this turn. You may use each item card once per turn. After using an item card, flip it face down to indicate that it has been exhausted. However, the backpack item card allows you to keep 2 extra power tiles over your 8 tile limit. Is the only item that is never exhausted. As you can see, there's no gray. There is no limit to the number of item cards you may have. After all your power tiles and item cards have been exhausted, and you have used your special character power, your turn is over. However, you may choose to end your turn at any time, even if some power tiles are not yet exhausted, and even if you have used your item cards or special powers. You haven't used those things. Refresh all your item cards as well as your power tiles by flipping them face up, and item cards will be on their color side. You may have a maximum of 8 power tiles unless you have the backpack. During your turn, if you receive power tiles that have taken you over the limit, refresh them all and discard them down to the limit. You may discard whichever power tiles you wish, including your starter power tiles. Some players at the same location as the active player may assist in attempting challenges by exhausting their face-up power tiles. An assisting player may roll dice along with the active player, and they may use face-up item cards to empower tiles to modify die rolls. The active player must roll at least one die during any challenge in which somebody assists. Keep in mind that any power tiles used to assist will be exhausted and unavailable on the existing player's next turn. The game can end in two ways. The first is the sixth and final section of the McFly photo is, of course, flipped face down. So we get, and then we finally, and you can flip these in any order, of course. That indicates that Marty and his siblings have completely disappeared. The game immediately ends and the players lose the game, because we don't exist. Lightning strikes at 10:04 p.m. When the turn tracker cube moves into the final space over here on the turn tracker at this point, the game ends immediately with one of two outcomes. If the love meter cube is on the heart zone and the DeLorean is ready and in its one of its three ready positions, then the players win the game. However, if the love meter cube is not in the heart zone and the DeLorean is not in the ready zone, the players lose the game. That's all you need to know to play Back to the Future, Back in Time. If you have any questions about this game, please put them in the comments below and I'll get to them as soon as I possibly can. But if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell to be notified for how to play videos just like this. And if you're a big fan of the channel as a whole, consider becoming a Patreon supporter on our Patreon page. I'll leave a link to that in the description below so you can check it out. And I want to thank our current patrons. Your donations mean a lot to this channel. If you want to support us, you can support us for as little as $1 a month. And it will give you early access to how to play videos just like the one you just saw. And if you saw this on Patreon, thank you very much. And your donation means a lot. You can also support us by checking out our Teespring store as well. You can find that floating around in our channel. Be on the lookout for our gameplay video on Back to the Future. But until then, thanks for the views.